Are you ready for the next step in your career? Do you feel like you're in a place where you're seeking guidance, but not getting it? Are you leading a team that just isn't listening and you're not getting the results you need? Is it time for you to sharpen your leadership skills? Then you've come to the right place. Welcome to the What Do You Stand For podcast.
My name is Arthur Keith, and I'm an award-winning business leader and luxury hospitality consultant, and I am an actual hotel GM. My passion, without a doubt, is teaching hospitality leadership. Nobody wakes up and says, let's be average today. There's no better time than today to discuss leadership in the hospitality space, given the crazy, zany changes we're seeing in our industry.
Hey everybody, this is Arthur Keith and the What Do You Stand For podcast. This is a place where emerging leaders come to be inspired, transformed, and to grow. With me today is the squad, and first and foremost, that hairy knee that some of you may be looking at belongs to Colin. Welcome back, Colin.
Hey Arthur, how are you this evening?
I am spectacular. Where are you at today?
I happen to be in a undisclosed location, doing a little leadership development, I guess is the best way to put it, right? Getting people ready to go back to work. So I'm excited about it. Thank you.
Very nice, very nice. Welcome. And then we have Daryl, DJ.
Hello, everybody. Hello. I'm glad to be here today. Looking forward to today's topics.
And then finally, the lovely Jerry.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Glad to be here this week. Looking forward to this week's topic very much.
Yeah, we are. Thank you, Jerry. And we're here this week to take a step back and really spend some time talking about the name of this podcast. What do you stand for? And truly what that means to each of us. We've said that What Do You Stand For podcast is all about creating leaders that would do more than just create profits, but they would be leaders that would, in essence, stand for creating and developing people. You know, they would be leaders that would stand for impacting communities and impacting the greater good and so on. So, but rather than me breaking it all down, I'm going to open it up to the squad and ask, kind of share what you stand for personally. So, Colin, what do you stand for?
You know, it's really interesting. Having not read any documentation that you sent us before we were going to talk today, when you said today's podcast is what do you stand for, I was like, well, what the heck what do I stand for? And I really started to think about it. And in my daily journal, right, I actually have 4 things that are particularly important to me. Right, it's about being a good father and a husband. Right, that I am in service to my wife and I am doing everything I possibly can to help my daughter make good decisions. Right, that would be number one. That would be my number one priority. Right, and then when I get into my is it vocation, my professional career, right? It's about, I try to exude hospitality everywhere I go and help inspire people to be better. And I had no idea what I was going to say, but I had that written, right? That's what I read to myself every day. And it's important to me. So if we break it down, right, there's my wife is the freaking best, dude. So me wanting to be in service to her,
The best.
just makes it that much easier for her to be the best. Right? I don't know. I just feel like that's what I have to do as a husband. Right? My daughter, she's growing up like Allie, right? She's growing up and she's got to have to make decisions on her own. And the only thing I can do now as she's a freshman in college is help her to make good decisions, right? Be there for her to help her make good decisions, right? So it's adding that support. And then when I really thought of, when I wrote this, and I bet you I wrote it, I don't know, 12 to 18 months ago. I thought about where I would be most influential in my organization. And really, I love hospitality. It's what I've done my entire career. It's what I talk about, various aspects of hospitality along the way. And I am good at exuding hospitality, right? So why not embrace that and just exude hospitality and inspire people to be better? Now, if we go backwards to when I was a leader and I actually had active employees that reported to me and all of those things, that's all I really wanted to do. I wanted to help my team get to where they want to get to, right? And sometimes that's pushing them out, and sometimes that's pulling them to the minimum basic standard, right? And sometimes it's asking them to leave the bus. But it was always about trying to help people get to where they want to get to. And I will tell you, as a young leader, when my favorite manager left me and she came in and she told me, hey, I got a new opportunity, I'm going to leave you, I was freaking angry. I was so mad at her, and I couldn't hide the emotion behind it. And I was probably not the best leader at that moment, but I reflect on it and realized why I wasn't that, because it kind of hurt, right? I had actually pushed this little bird out of the nest, and she was allowed to fly, and she is so successful now that I couldn't be prouder that I helped be part of her career.
Mm-hmm.
And
a great feeling though.
Yeah, but man, it hurt. I'm not gonna lie, it hurt.
It
right?
does.
But
who's gonna do this now?
No, but it wasn't even that. It was she was in the right seat on the right. I hate to go back to the cliche, but she was in the right seat. She was a great leader. We were making strides. We were absolutely pushing it forward. We all were in the same vision. It was one of those, and I don't know how many experiences you've had in your lives, but I've only had 2 of them. But one of those 2 experiences in my life where the hotel operated on all cylinders, right? We just had it going on. Everybody knew their job and things were good. And we were just making money, making people happy, making money, making people happy, or either way, making people happy, making money, making people happy, making money. You can go either way, right? But they were both related. And I was really sad for me personally because I loved her. I love her still, right? And me professionally because now I had this big vacant seat. And what was I going to do? So not like who was going to do who was not going to run the reports, DJ, right? I wasn't who's going to run the reports, but who's going to fill this leadership role that person held.
Who's ready?
Right. So those were the things that really turned me on then. And I guess you can hear by how I'm talking about it now. It's still turned me on now. Like I love that aspect. Well, I happen to be doing some training this week. And at the end of our training today, I asked the question, what did you learn? Right. I like to ask that question because that gives me like that immediate feedback, whether or not anybody listened to me talk for 2 hours and got anything out of it. Right. So, right. But what did you learn? And I ask them just to write it down in their books. It's not about me, right? Write it down in your book. And then you ask who wants to share, right? And the 3 people that shared today, one of them was a millimeter forward, right? One of them was a yard forward, right? And the other one was right in the middle. But golly gee, everybody moved forward. And to me, that's what charges me up for. So I guess to answer the question very long-windedly, Arthur.
Oh, there was a question in there somewhere?
Yeah. Well, Colin, I don't know if I should do this, but I really want to do this. Your initial response to the question, what you stood for, was something that I think it's worth us delving into further, because you started with talking about your wife and your family and about how important they are to you. And,
yes.
And I think as great leaders recognize that they're going to have Collins on their team who have families, and understanding the importance of those family members to those that work for us, and connecting with and asking questions and getting to know them. That's leadership on a graduate level where you're leading the full person, not just the part of Colin that shows up to work every day.
Right.
You're leading all of Colin. And that's where, going back to people feeling loved, people feel loved. When you show love, interest, care, and concern about those that they love. So, going full
Hey,
circle.
Arthur, Can I share a really interesting story about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Young manager. I'm a young manager in the hospitality industry. It's the only thing I ever did for probably the first 25 years of my life, right? Or 25 years after college, right? Hospitality manager. And I came up and I started as a housekeeping manager and I was a front desk manager and I worked my way all the way up through the ranks. And then I was lucky enough to get a job as a executive director of rooms prior to me having children. Okay. Got my director of rooms position. God bless you, TJ.
I tried to mute it out.
That's okay. Hey, so I was lucky enough to become a director of rooms before I had children. And then lo and behold, my daughter got sick on a day when my wife had a very important meeting that she had to go to work for. And I had a very important meeting that I needed to attend. And all of a sudden, we were faced with the idea of what do we do about our daughter today, right? And called my parents, my poor brother was the person who actually ended up taking care of my daughter, who didn't stop crying the entire day. But that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is up until that moment, I never genuinely understood when a mother told me, I don't have childcare, I can't come to work today. Never understood it. I remember this, and I'm going to tell you, like this is 2004. Right? But wow. I never, ever understood, what do you mean you don't have childcare? Just get your ass to work, right? I need help today. I have to clean the rooms. I have to check people in. I have to, whatever it might have been. And I never genuinely understood it. And then, like, I get emotional about it because it was the moment when I said, this is going to change, right? Mm-hmm. I am now a new person. And when Arthur says managing the entire person, it really is important.
Yeah. Well, let me be transparent. All right. Like you, it was a journey for me. And I'm going to go back to 4 years into my career where I had a scenario similar to yours where I was at a hotel in LA. One of the assistant managers worked for him. No, actually a management trainee. That's right. I can't remember his name. I wish I could because I treated him so wrong and I so regret it to this day. He came to me and said he couldn't work. He needed a couple of days off because his wife was sick. And I remember thinking, what type of bogus excuse is that? Dude, you need to come to work. We need you. And I gave him so much grief over it. He didn't come to work. But I gave him so much grief over it. He ended up quitting within like 90 days. And we lost a real solid emerging leader because I was so insensitive and did not understand the fact that people have lives outside of work. Mm-hmm. And those are people that are important to them. And sometimes they need to be there. But I just was not there. And it wasn't, and to your point, when you said, this was pre you having kids, I changed once I had kids too. I realized, it's not all about work. It's about families and it's about, people need to balance all of that. But to this day, and I wish I could, if he were in the room today, I would get down on my knees and apologize to him because it took me literally another almost 8 years to realize how big of a mistake that was and how poorly I had treated him. And that could have been a moment where we really, where I could have chosen to have erred on his behalf and created a loyalty with him, showing him that he was valued and important versus I did just the opposite, ticked him off and he quit. And probably found a better leader that would treat him and treat him better in that type of scenario. So
those are, if I can interrupt just for a second, those are powerful stories, and it almost takes you back to the whole, what do you stand for, one of the pillars, and to me, it brings back to teach. You're learning underneath that umbrella what was necessary. You had to go through it as well in order for you to be able to, tell that story to someone else. Because that's got to be one of those things that it touches your heart so much that now it's going to impact others. And so I think, I really appreciate you both sharing those stories because, we all have had those those moments where we were in our or probably in our early stages of our management careers, where we probably were insensitive to certain needs of our employees or the people we, that helped us to achieve our goals and that were on our team. We call them our team members, but we forgot that the human side of it, that sometimes people need more. And when you give them more, you can achieve more. So I think it's just a little bit of empathy that we all have to have. Thank y'all for sharing those. I love those stories.
Arthur, there's 4 hospitality leaders on this podcast. We probably could tell you stories for a year. Okay? Forever.
I think a lot of times people fail to understand that everybody at different levels in their leadership skills or always look at management like going to college. You're in your freshman years of college, and sometimes it takes a little bit time to, whether it's your freshman, your sophomoric years, your junior years and your senior years, and sometimes it just takes a while. People are just not at the level of maturity to understand what's being asked. And you're right, you do have to worry about, you have to be able to understand the person that you're working with to be able to ask the question in a different way. However, you can find out what are their expectations, what are they looking for, and get a better understanding of what that is basically what I'm looking at. And so I think a lot of times when, you almost have to align as new leaders. You have to kind of understand what you stand for in the first place. You need to,
right.
You have to think introspectively and basically try to understand what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? What do you stand for as a human being? What's important to you? And
what's important to you? I think that's how you approach it. What's important to you? Because I really want to achieve greatness here under your leadership. So I'll do better at that if you tell me what's important to you.
So it's like acting small to get there, to understand, to kind of make sure that you're building those relationships with those people so you can be able to speak candidly.
There's always more to unpack than what we can unpack in the time that we have, because leadership is such a unbelievable and deep topic that we can delve into. And, leaders aren't born overnight. And we'll keep coming back and sharing our thoughts on this topic. Subscribe to our podcast. Drop us some questions. We love questions. We want to connect with you, and looking forward to spending time with you again down the road. But before we close, I want to thank Daryl, Colin, and Jerry for joining me this week as we unpacked what leadership's all about. Thank you. Love you.
Thanks, Arthur.
What do you stand for? Yes.
Woo-hoo! In the house.
Thanks for tuning in today, everybody. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast and that you will come back next week as we continue the conversation about how big outcomes can come from small acts.
Look for us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Find the links on arthurkeith.com. What do you stand for?